It's time to talk with Jay Foss.
Thanks so much for calling in. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome. I appreciate you too, Jay Foss.
The magic happens when you have the right person in the right place at the right time.
If we're having fun, everyone else is going to have fun naturally.
Keep it local radio.
I'm obsessed with transformations on this show. And so I guess that in this case, you are that paradigm shift. You are the thing that transforms people. That's what people call me.
Want to connect with Jay? Dial in.
But then the question is everyone tuned into the right frequency?
Are you tuned in?
Making our corner of the world a little brighter.
Did you make the right decision here? Like, are you, did you bite off more than you can chew?
In figuring out what makes people tick whenever we start something new.
Yeah.
There's always that question of
raising your inner voice.
Wait, was this too much? Did I start hiking a mountain that's a little too high for my level of experience?
With Jay Foss.
It's a quote by Thoreau. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it.
Not just another talk show.
We cover all things that make us human.
It's time to be heard.
How can my values and how can these inner thoughts that I have help me be a more whole human being?
Online and on air.
We can't legislate being a good, decent human being. So what can we do? We can become more active in this community.
Raising your inner voice with Jay Foss.
Hey, party people. Thanks so much for tuning back in and paying attention. This is Raising Your Inner Voice, and we're really diving into the inner voice aspect of that this evening. This whole show delves into what makes people tick, what makes you and I tick. Sometimes in order to figure that out, I do deep dives with guests. Other times, like tonight, it's just you and me. It's me and you. It's each of us by ourselves with our own inner voice. And I have some topics to get the conversation rolling just to see what you might have for thoughts. But I'm happy to go any direction that the spirit leads us. And the spirit is actually one of the main topics is for tonight. I'm reading a book for a class that I'm taking, and the book is called Strengthening the Soul of Your Leadership. And a quote from this book got me thinking about not only leadership, but particularly with the soul, that inner voice, that inner longing, that calling that we all have. It got me thinking about that. So let me read this quote to you. It's from page 26 of Strengthening the Soul of Your Leadership. For one thing, the soul is a tender thing. In leadership can be very dangerous. As Parker Palmer says, the soul is like a wild animal, tough, resilient, resourceful, savvy. It knows how to survive in hard places, but it is also shy. Just like a wild animal, it seeks safety in the dense underbrush. If we want to see a wild animal, we know the last thing we should do is go crashing through the woods, yelling for it to come out. And in typical Jay Foss fashion here, I am quoting someone who's quoting someone else. So it's third source that you're getting this. The author of this book is Ruth Barton, and she's quoting Parker Palmer regarding how the soul is like a wild animal. What do you think? Is your soul like a wild animal? I really reflected on this, and it struck me, if we want to see a wild animal, we know the last thing we should do is go crashing through the woods, yelling for it to come out. That's how I feel initially when I was reading it. I was like, I've never thought of the soul as a wild animal. I got to reflect on this. And initially my thoughts were, well, wild animals are dangerous. Typically wild animals, I think of the not violent, but I think of the wild aspect. And it's something that it struck me as, yes, I deeply resonated with it, that my soul does feel like a wild animal, not just because of the wild dangerousness of it, but more so because of the quiet nature, that in order to see a wild animal in its habitat in the wild, we have to be quiet. We have to like calm down and not be crashing through the woods, crashing through the forest, crashing through life in order to actually interact with it. And that's something that spoke volumes to me, because I think that many times with something like this show, I mean, right, we're talking about raising your inner voice, but actually the doing of it is a harder challenge of being quiet. I think that's why meditation is so popular these days, is because a lot of people are getting in tune with their inner voice. But it's, again, it's something that it takes some solitude. It takes some quiet. It takes us to be more present with ourselves, to actually interact with our inner voice. Some people call that the soul. Some people call that the inner child. I think there's many different words people use to get at this spirit, right? That we all inhabit. And in getting at that, I mean, that's the essence of life, the essence of your life, the essence of my life, and how we it's so hard putting words to things like this, but how we get at what makes you tick. I mean, you know, that in talking with other people, this is how this show came about, is interest in what makes other people tick and how that can affect me, and therefore how what makes me tick and makes me come alive turns into not only an inner voice, but hopefully something that we are living out. And that's what that outer voice is, right? Outer voices aren't necessarily us yelling at people. It's our actions. It's how we're living our lives and coping with life, because there's plenty of things to cope with in life. And yeah. Any thoughts from you on this? If you want to join the conversation, you can give me a call. 617-843-5393 is the phone number to call, or just tippity tap on the clickety clack, which is my way of saying type on the keyboard. Feel free to shoot me a message and join the conversation that way. But I mean, I don't know. Is this a crazy idea about the soul being a wild animal? It seems dangerous. There's an element to wild animals that is, I mean, they're tough, resilient, resourceful, and savvy, right? Wild animals know how to survive in hard places. I mean, just thinking about that for a second, it's wild animals. It's so funny that when we have wild animals in the city, because we are disturbing natural habitats, we as people tend to freak out about that, right? Because it's, oh, what are they doing here? Wild animals aren't supposed to be here in urban areas, but yet we are displacing them from their habitats with the expansion of things. And I mean, it's so interesting that we then are thrown off when we see wild animals in an area that is more to our habitat. Even though we're the ones who have displaced them from their habitat. But I think the dangerous aspect of wild animals is what freaks us out, is what really gets at us of like, oh, things are no longer safe here. I thought this was a safe place from wild animals. This isn't a safe place necessarily. And so taking that metaphor back to our soul, is our soul a safe place? I mean, I guess some of that depends on how you were raised. And beyond how you were raised, it also depends on the environment that you're inhabiting in your soul. Are you paying attention to that inner voice? Are you paying attention to yourself? Are you living the life that you want to be living? So many questions stem from there that I try not to get too verbose and too into the language around it. But I think the ultimate, you understand the heart of what I'm getting at here, right? The heart of what I'm getting at in questioning is your soul a wild animal? And if it is, what does that mean about the human experience? There's so many things to chime in on this. Going to the comments right now, we have one from Jules Bell Music. Shout out to Jules. Perhaps our souls are wild animals and our bodies and minds are like domesticated, trained animals. I like your thinking, Jules. I'm going to repeat that for anyone that needs the replay. Perhaps our souls are wild animals and our bodies and minds are like domesticated, trained animals. Yeah, Jules. Our bodies and minds are domesticated, trained animals. Yeah. I mean, especially with the mind. I think of the mind as being trained and domesticated. Yeah. In our bodies as well. I mean, we have more control. We have more control over our minds and our bodies. Do we have control over our souls? That's a good question. Yeah, that's something I hadn't thought about in this regard. But I like where you're going. You're on to something, Jules. I say, let's keep on going down that rabbit hole. And what do you think? I mean, how do we interact with, if our souls are the wild animals part of us? How do we even interact with them? Because a mind and a body, if they're domesticated and trained, they can be formed, they can be shaped, whereas our wild animals are more skittish, perhaps more prone to the elements, i.e. of how we were raised, i.e. of our projections of the future. Am I good enough? Am I not good enough? All of that gets combined and intertwined into who we are. It's weird dissecting ourselves in this way, isn't it? Because typically, like when I think of who Jay Foss is, I have like one constant structure or something that I mean when I say that. Whereas we're dissecting this, and there, of course, are different elements that make up who I am. There are different elements that make up who you are. And in all those ways, I mean, we can deconstruct ourselves and we can reconstruct ourselves. And none of that equates to the sum of who we are. We're so much more than who I think we are. And at the same time, I also want to say that we're not as much of what we think we are. Right? And that's why, I mean, bringing it back to the whole meditation thing, it's good to quiet the mind. And if that's how we actually do get in touch with our souls, with the wild element of who we are, I think I need to do that more. I think that it's something that taking the time to just be. I mean, we are human beings, right? We've all heard this phrase before. We're human beings, not human doings. And if you haven't heard it, welcome to the club. You're a human being, not a human doing. So in many of the things that we do, we define ourselves by, like, oh, I am a person that does this for work, or I am a person who does this to fill my time. But we're actually not human doings. We're human beings. So it's how do we not only get in touch, but the bigger question is stay in touch with those inner voice, this soul element of ourselves. Yeah, this is what we do on Raising Your Inner Voice. We go down to rabbit holes on Sunday evenings because I view Sundays as this liminal space where it's almost, I mean, keeping with the soul metaphor, it's like sacred time. It's it's no longer the party of the weekend, but it's no longer back to work or back to school, whatever your definition of a weekday is. Sunday evenings, it's this special liminal space where it's not one and it's not the other anymore. It's this in-between time that we can be both introspective and I don't know what the opposite of introspective is. Extrospective? That's definitely not a word. Come on, Jane, be better than this. Extrospective. It's ridiculous. Just utterly ridiculous. But yeah, so we take this liminal space of Sunday evenings and delve into why are you living the way that you're living? And can we be better people? I don't know that we can. I'm striving towards being a better person, but at the same time, if we're human beings, not human doings, then inherently you're good enough. Inherently, I'm good enough. Just by being, just by existing. So if we're good enough, then what you do, it matters. I don't want to say it doesn't matter. It matters. What you do matters. But how you are matters more than what you do. I've heard a phrase before that's along the lines of people remember how you make them feel. They don't remember what you do for them. They don't remember numerous other things, but they remember how you make them feel. So your presence, your being is really important. And I think because if our souls are wild animals, I mean, we tend to stay away from wild animals. And when we do experience wild animals, personally, at least, I won't speak for everyone, but personally, I end up becoming in such awe of, usually it's a combination of like beauty and majesty and back to presence, the presence of wild animals, because they're doing their thing, minding their own business. And typically, most wild creatures, they just don't want to be bothered. They're doing their thing. But we need to get in touch with it. We need to get in touch with that soul inner voice. I don't know. I might be some crazy guy just rambling on a Sunday evening too. And this is why I love to get other perspectives on it. So Jules, thank you so much for chiming in. And I appreciate you adding to the conversation this evening. Any more thoughts, feel free to comment and let me know. For anyone else that wants to join the conversation, you're welcome to type a comment or give me a call. 617-843-5393 is the phone number. I'll repeat it again. 617, because it's a Boston phone number. 617-843-5393 is the phone number to call. And would love to have your voice in this conversation. We have 3 segments this evening, and we're all focused on how your soul, and mine too, let's be honest. You're not alone in this life or this world. I'm in this with you, at least for this moment in time. We're on the same page here. How your soul and my soul are like wild animals. Or they're not even like wild animals. They are, in fact, wild animals. Let's go ahead and go to the phones right now. What is your name and where are you calling from? All right, let me try
I've
this.
talked to you before, but
Oh,
honestly,
Lisa.
yeah.
How's it going?
I was like, I gotta call in. I gotta call in this subject because this is what my tribe believes. I'm Native American, as you know, Jibwa from the Anishinaabe people, and this is something that we believe in. That we are all related.
Yeah. Well,
you're related to animals, the earth, everything.
Do you know where this belief came from?
It just came from our ancestors. It believed, we don't call the earth, we call it Turtle Island. So everything came from from animals in the beginning, is what we believe. But we believe that you're so connected to animals that you share traits. And whatever animal you are drawn to for your entire life, or something, an animal that you love or you relate to, those characteristics of the animal are in you, and that's how you're related. So
Yeah.
Something that's on my totem is a blue jay.
Okay.
Blue jays are very territorial. They're very, they have a temper, but they're also very, very, and very loyal.
Oh, okay.
And that is definitely me. And, even though it might show us things that we don't like about ourselves, like my temper, there are things that you have to learn from.
Yeah.
So you can learn from these things. And also a beaver is also, my whole life I've loved to swim. I'm connected to the water. That's where I find my most peace, is the water.
Okay.
And beavers are very curious and playful, and that's also my personality. So,
yeah. Well, so many questions for you. One is, so a person, is there this connection between the wild animal and your soul, or is it more like your personality?
it's definitely soul related.
Okay.
Especially when you leave this earth and you go into the spirit world. Some say that you could, that's how you go into the spirit world, as that, and those animals are the animal that you close related to. So it's definitely in your soul.
Do you get to pick your own? I mean, do you call them spirit animals? What's the phrase that you use for this?
You do call them spirit animals. They're spirit animals, and we do totems, and I know what a totem pole is. So there could be several animals on that totem. But it's definitely an animal you may not have picked, but has, you've always kind of been drawn to, or you just happen to you always see, like blue jays always stood out to me.
Yeah. Okay.
More than a lot of people say a cardinal stands out to them a lot. So a lot of people are into that, but blue jay's always been I always see them, and I just been drawn to them since a child. And so it's an animal that piques your interest.
Yeah. So I have a question. How do you figure out or get in touch with that aspect of yourself? Or am I overthinking it? Maybe it doesn't even need to be that complicated.
I think you need to start learning about the animal that you're connected to. It's a nature lesson. So it makes you respect the animal world better, because you're learning about that animal, and you're seeing how closely you actually are related to nature. And what that animal, needs to live and thrive is the earth. And that makes you respect the earth more too.
Yeah, because I feel like a common native belief is that all things are interconnected, right?
Yes.
And we're all inhabiting this crazy spinning ball through the universe together.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So that's the saying that we are all related.
Right.
Every tree, all the dirt in the earth, everything is a circle. It's connected. But yeah, just learning about the animals and having respect for them. Once you start learning their characteristics, their personalities, you might find that you share the same things and you connect more.
Right.
And yeah. Even in the hunting world, my stepmom, she hunts, but it's done with so much respect. Nothing is wasted.
Yep.
Bears, moose, all of it.
Wow.
But you're not just hunting, trophy hunting. You're hunting because, she's so far north that she needs to hunt.
Wow.
For food. But
really?
Yeah. But it's in it's much more respectful way. And I know it's some people are against hunting but it's done in a more respectful way where nothing's going to be wasted and you're not just doing it to kill an animal.
Right, right. Well, and something that I've heard as for people who are more vegetarian and vegan supporters are that there's no humane way to kill an animal. Like one way or another, you're killing something.
Right. Well, I think I there are hunters out there that know how to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, they know how to do it in the most, and that's part of honoring and respecting the animal is doing it in a way that's not going to cause any like hurt and pain and
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and
I mean, sometimes it can't be avoided, but I know they trap rabbits. I know, but I mean that's the way of life where she is. But
right, right. Well, and there's it's so interesting too because we live in such a more commodified and commercial reality. And I say we, meaning most people, particularly urban areas, right? Where you're so far removed from the actual hunt or capture or killing of an animal that we view things on a store shelf and in a grocery store as completely unrelated to the animal that got sacrificed for you to have that food.
definitely, I was the same way until I, got reconnected to, you know, my dad and my stepmom, and she's always, posting things. That I mean, they make moccasins with the leather and all kinds of things that I didn't know, and it made I was the same way. I was like, oh, how can people kill animals? Oh my God, I wasn't vegan or anything, but it definitely opened my eyes.
Yeah.
It is the circle of life, especially for people who who are far north, and this is the way for them. They have to do it.
Right, right. Well, and I think another aspect of that is shocking to me is the fact that, right, like, and not to become too dismal or morbid, but there's an element there that I don't want to think about because I too am going to have an expiration date. I too am going to die someday. And it's like, I would rather be removed from that thought than have to live with that in thinking about wild animals who don't have typically wild animals. I don't think live as long as like pets that we have or domesticated trained animals that we have.
Right.
And I don't want to think about that, but I think it's
No,
worth entertaining. With that being said,
yeah.
how are things with your citizenship going? The last time you chimed in, I think that you had an upcoming appointment at the end of January.
Yeah, so they gave us 30 more days. I have to get information, more information on my dad. So my dad is a U.S. citizen,
right?
And they want everything under the sun when you apply for citizenship. So I'm doing it through my father, who's U.S. born citizen, who now lives in Canada. But they want like school records. They want to know he was in here for a certain amount of time. I didn't realize that you couldn't just use your dad's birth certificate. Like you actually have to be in the USA for a long period of time.
Wow.
For your kids to claim citizenship. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I'm things are coming together though.
Oh, good.
It's just a cycle. Yeah. It's just a cycle you got to go through.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I'm glad to hear that you sound warm about it and very encouraged.
Yes. Yeah. I think I get like that every time we get more time to get more paperwork. I think I get excited.
Okay. Well, we're rooting for you here at Raising Your Inner Voice. That's for sure.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thanks for chiming in, Lisa.
Always. I love it. Thank you.
All right. Be well. Dear listener, if you want to be like Lisa and you want to join the conversation, the phone number to dial 617-843-5393 is the phone number to call. Or you can be like Jules earlier who chimed in Jules Bell Music chimed in a little while ago by typing on the keyboard and commenting that way. You are free to do it either way that you would like. We're going to take a quick break right now. We'll be back with more Raising Your Inner Voice after this.
Stay with us as we continue Raising Your Inner Voice with Jay Fox.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber. If you're replacing the windows in your home, please see the Anderson 400 series windows on display at any of our 3 locations in North Reading, Beverly, or Plastown, New Hampshire. The Anderson 400 is attractive, durable, energy efficient, and reasonably priced. Remember, Anderson is the most trusted name in windows. See the Anderson 400 at any of our 3 locations. That's North Reading, Beverly, or Plastown, New Hampshire, or at MoynihanLumber.com.
Moynihan Lumber, we measure up.
If you have any issues, topics, or voices that you think would be great to be heard on this show, please reach out, jay.foss@me.com. If you want to add your voice to the conversation, record a voice memo and email it to me, or tune in live Sunday evenings at 7 p.m.
How's your 401k? I'm Luke Noble of Noble Financial Group. As a certified financial planner, I know you can't plan for everything, but we can prepare you for life's twists and turns. We'll make a plan to help your money last through your retirement years. Our team is dedicated to helping you achieve your financial goals. Let us help. Visit noblefinancialgroupllc.com.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through MML Investor Services. Member SIPC. Noble Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of MML Investor Services.
Making our corner of the world a little brighter, online and on air. Raising Your Inner Voice with Jay Foss.
And we are back here at Raising Your Inner Voice. And that's what we're doing. We are raising your inner voice this evening. And how are we doing that? Well, we're talking about how your soul and my soul are like wild animals. I read this quote from Strengthening the Soul of Your Leadership by Ruth Barton. And it was actually a quote of a quote that I read, because she was quoting Parker Palmer, who said that the soul is like a wild animal, tough, resilient, resourceful, savvy. It knows how to survive in hard places, but it is also shy. Just like a wild animal, it seeks safety in the dense underbrush. If we want to see a wild animal, we know the last thing we should do is go crashing through the woods, yelling for it to come out. And we've had such good conversation thus far. Lisa just chimed in talking about how this is not a new concept for her. This is something that her tribe, as a Native person, a First Nations person, her tribe has this belief, right? That we all have spirit animals related with us. And so it's whichever animal you actually connect with. So what animals are you connecting with? I know for me, I see a ton of deer. I don't know what the aspect that I see. The aspect that I see regarding deer is that they're skittish. I don't know if that makes me skittish or what. Perhaps I have a skittish soul, maybe. And that's why this quote speaks to me, is because of the fact that maybe I have a skittish soul. Kimmy D is joining the conversation. Have we discussed spirit animal totems? A little bit. If there's more that you want to add regarding spirit totems, I would love for you to chime in about that, Kimmy. If you want to be like Lisa and join the conversation over the phone, you're welcome to join that way. 617-843-5393. Or you can just feel free to comment. And we have a bunch of comments hitting us up tonight. Kate chimes into the conversation, kind of connected to the grasshopper, as in the ant and the grasshopper. In my past, I've resented it, but I've learned to embrace it. I've had some bonker experiences. Thanks for chiming in, both Kimmy and Kate. Kate, I love it. Yeah, in my past, I've resented being the grasshopper, as in the ant and the grasshopper. You may have to explain that one. I don't know the ant and the grasshopper. I assume it's a fable of some sort. I'm not familiar with it off the top of my head, but that's okay. Yeah, because I can relate to the fact that in your past you've resented it, but you've learned to embrace it. I mean, that I feel like you're describing childhood in and of itself right there. So many of us, I think, when we're younger, we want to fit in like everyone else when we're kids, but we don't realize that the ways that we stand out, the ways that we stick out are actually end up being, I don't want to say superpowers, but they end up being gifts. I'll put it that way. That if we can embrace, we are better off as individuals and we're better off collectively if we can think about that. Kimmy D chimes back in regarding it's good to think of times in the past or current when you've liked an animal. As a kid, I used to love penguins. Penguins. Googling it can show me what I was dealing with and why that resonated with me. Oh, that's really, of course, Google. Thank you, Google. We're going to be going to AI for everything soon enough. But I love it. Yeah. So penguins really resonated with you. And that can show you what you were dealing with. Huh. So that's actually, I'm curious, Lisa, if you get a chance to chime back in, even just typing in the comment box, I'm curious, can animals change over the course of our life? Like maybe there's a spirit animal in regards to a certain phase of life. Yeah, so something that may speak to you for a certain period of time. And then once you've either, I don't even know, healed that aspect of yourself, or moved on, or just grown, learned from it. Or maybe like Kate, it's you've embraced that side of yourself. Oh, yeah, that's good. If you've embraced that side of yourself. Jules earlier referenced how our souls are like wild animals, but our bodies and minds are like domesticated, trained animals. And I think it's interesting that so far the examples that everyone has brought up are those wild animals, whether it's a grasshopper, whether it's a penguin, whether it's a blue jay. These are all wild animals, or whether it's a deer. I feel like that's out of everyone that's brought up an animal. Why would I go ahead and admit to picking a deer? Seems like one of the most timid and undesirable things to want to be for a spirit animal. But I see a ton of them. I also live in a relatively rural area, so I see a ton of deer. And maybe I need to embrace it better, Kate. Maybe you're being a good role model for me. But then I don't want to get deer ticks. There's a lot of things that we can. The analogies fall apart at some point, don't they? I think so. But yeah, I really appreciate how, first of all, this isn't a topic that's foreign to most people. Most people seem to be on the same page with this from the get-go. It seemed like a new take for me to understand how the soul is a wild animal. Especially the shyness aspect of it, that in order to get in touch with your own soul, you need some solitude, some quiet, some time to just be. Oh, Kimmy chimed back in. She says it can also tell you what your kids may need or want based on their likes in animals. Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. Paying attention. So helping other people. That's the parent in you, Kimmy. I can tell. helping other people, particularly kids, based on what. Yeah. Well, and that makes me think a lot of kids are fascinated with dinosaurs. So I wonder what that says about a lot of kids. Maybe that they, I don't even know. I'm not going to go down that far with that rabbit hole, but I like it. I like your thinking. I like your thinking a lot. Yeah, for anyone else that wants to join the conversation, feel free to chime in 617-843-5393. And I love that we're having this conversation. It's just you and I, dear listener. This week, it's a live episode. So what that means is that it's a chance for you and I to connect with ourselves and with each other. We take this time to be communal, but also this time to be introspective and reflective of our lived experience and what we can learn from both other people, but also ourselves. I think a lot of times I don't give enough credit to what I'm learning in life. And not only about what makes me tick, but in voicing that, how we can express that with other people. Because as Lisa pointed out earlier, this is a shared existence that we have, right? I mean, we're all living in this space and time together, whether or not we want to admit it. Everyone who's alive on the planet right now, regardless of whether it's morning, evening, midday, or the middle of the night, everyone who's alive right now is experiencing life right now. The crazy thing is we don't know when the time is up. I mean, we don't have control completely over getting in touch with that inner soul. Jules is chiming back in. She says, so we've been destroying animals' natural habitats and making species go extinct. I wonder how that relates to our spiritual habitat. Ooh, dropping bombs on me here. Yeah. Yeah. Are we even paying attention to our souls? That's what I'm getting out of your message, Jules. And I know that recently I had a chance to take some time of quiet. And I know that for me, I can honestly say that no, I've been way too busy to deal with my own soul. I like what you're talking about in regards to destroying natural habitats, because I don't think of destroying my own soul, but there's that also phrase of like, you can gain the whole world, but lose your soul. So yeah, maybe if we're not taking enough time to listen to ourselves, then we are destroying the habitat for our soul. Yeah, there's a lot there. Kimmy's saying that I was in a spirit animal group earlier today. No way. That's a synchronicity. This is not a coincidence. What animals you may fear can also represent what your deeper fears are. Okay, I'm reading this one again. What animals you may fear can also represent what your deeper fears are. Yeah. So what animals I'm afraid of? Those, if we, like Lisa was talking about earlier, right? Like animals have certain characteristic traits to them. So if we can figure out what it is that we're afraid of, that can lead to understanding what we're afraid of within ourselves and what those deeper fears are. Wow. That is a direction I did not foresee going. Lisa is chiming in with some comfort for me. She says, deers are intuitive, compassionate, caring, and intelligent. They are excellent runners and good swimmers, adaptable too. All right, I'm taking it. Yeah, I have been told that I am adaptable. A good friend of mine, when I was training to do audio work, described me as being inflappable. I don't know if that's the right word. Inflappable. But yeah, adaptable. I'm with it. Kate, I love this. We're having like a numerous way conversation. So Kate says, oh, Kimmy, would you have an example for what animals you may fear can also represent what your deeper fears are? I like this. All right, Kimmy, we're all waiting with bated breath on what you might say to this, of what are examples for what animals you may fear can also represent what your deeper fears are. I feel like I need to play like the theme show music from Jeopardy or something right now. While we're waiting, I'm going to remind anyone who wants to call into the conversation that this is a live radio show. I love getting people's responses via voicemail or live on the air. The way to send me a voice message, you can either text it to 617-843-5393 or shoot me an email to jay.foss@me.com. And those are two different ways that you can leave a voice message or join the conversation right here and now. And perfectly on time, Kimmy says, if you have a strong fear of snakes, it can mean that you fear change and growth in your own life. And so you stay in your same patterns that are comfortable. Huh. A strong fear of snakes can mean that you fear change and growth in your own life. And so you stay in your same patterns that are comfortable. Yeah. I mean, isn't that a lot of people are probably afraid of snakes. I can think of an aunt that I have who big fear of snakes, because snakes can mean transformation and rebirth, i.e. shedding of the skin and all of that. Yeah. That's a really interesting concept. I'm trying to think now. This has me thinking. I wasn't thinking about this before, but like what animals am I afraid of? I don't know that I have animals. I guess the biggest animal that I'm afraid of would be a human being. Because humans are wild as well. I mean, if we're being honest, our natural inclination to things are very wild. Wild, I think, in many ways, even though we do exhibit ways of being tame. But when you come right down to it, we all have that fight or flight instinct. Yeah. Interesting. Kimmy D says, any reoccurring dreams with animals? It could be an animal totem. Oh, really? Interesting. Oh, Lisa's chiming in with some humor for me. Deers are afraid of humans too. Yeah, I guess I am a deer then. When you come right down to it, that's hilarious. Oh my goodness, this is too fun. Yeah, would love for more conversations in this conversation, for more voices in this conversation. Feel free to chime into the comments. We're going to take one last break, and then we'll be back in a couple minutes to wrap up the show. This is Raising Your Inner Voice with me, Jay Foss. And this evening, we're talking all about how your soul is a wild animal. We're having some good conversation about it. I hope that you'll join us.
Want to connect with Jay? Dial in as we continue Raising Your Inner Voice.
Are you worried about the stock market, your 401k, or rising costs? Hi, I'm Luke Noble of Noble Financial Group. As a certified financial planner, I know you can't plan for everything, but our dedicated team of professionals can better prepare you so your money lasts as long as you do. Let us help. Visit noblefinancialgroupllc.com.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through MML Investor Services. Member SIPC. Noble Financial Group is not an affiliate or subsidiary of MML Investor Services.
What does living a better life mean? And what's your process in figuring that out? If you want to join in the conversation live, tune in Sunday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you want to gather your thoughts first, record a voice memo and email it to jay.foss@me.com, because I would love to have your voice in this conversation. If you think someone else might need a conversation like this one, then let them know to get involved.
Hi, folks. This is Gerard Moynihan of Moynihan Lumber. Professional builders choose Andersen Windows because they are the #1 trusted and recommended window and door brand in the United States. Andersen Windows and patio doors offer beautiful natural wood interiors, low maintenance exteriors, and outstanding energy efficiency. See the complete line of Andersen Windows on display at Moynihan Lumber in Beverly, North Reading, and Plastown, New Hampshire, or visit us at MoynihanLumber.com.
Moynihan Lumber, we measure up.
Not just another talk show. It's time to be heard. Online and on air. Raising your inner voice with Jay Foss.
And we are back with Raising Your Inner Voice, talking all about wild animals and how your soul is like a wild animal here on Raising Your Inner Voice this evening. We'd love to have you comment and join in the conversation. We've had some really good interaction so far. Very humorous interaction, might I add. Follow-up question from Jules asks, so many people are terrified of spiders, but I have no idea what that might represent. Any ideas? I'm going to turn this over to the group because I feel like people are much better at knowing answers than I, because I don't know the answer to this one. Spiders. Yeah, there are a lot of people are afraid of spiders. But what could that represent? Any thoughts from the group? Any thoughts regarding what spiders might represent? I also have another question since we're throwing questions out there. My question's for Kimmy regarding what was this group that you, this spirit animal group earlier today that you were in? Well, I'm fascinated. I'm intrigued. I'm interested. My interest has been piqued. What is this spirit group that you were involved in? And is this open to other people? And yeah, let me know some more thoughts about that. Kimmy says that she Googles everything and see what resonates because it changes with what I may be going through. Never make assumptions about what seems good or bad. Yeah, don't judge it. Do not judge it. I mean, that in and of itself right there is a huge lesson. So, I mean, even, yeah, actually, I'm going to take my deer. I was judging my inner deer. Yeah, don't judge it. I like that. Good words of affirmation, Kimmy. I learned so much through this show about myself, about other people as well, and this is a self-learning lesson right here, not to judge it. Currently, Kate is chiming in that she's Googling cute spiders. So if you're afraid of spiders, maybe Google cute spiders and what that can mean for you. There's got to be, I feel like spiders are quick, right? What are other attributes regarding spiders? So quick rashness. I don't know if that fits or not. I'm going to rely on the experts who are the ladies on the forum right now. This is so fun, isn't it? Discovering and uncovering aspects about ourselves that other people are chiming in on, and we're all connecting over this. This is so good. Lisa said that she used to be afraid of spiders until I realized they help keep bugs out of my house. Oh, yes. So I started just talking to them and putting them in cups to take outside. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and so Lisa, chime in about this if you can. Can animals that you relate with change over time? I imagine the answer's got to be yes, right? Because we change over time. So therefore, the aspects of our soul that are wild animals change over time as well. So it would be, yeah, it's not shocking that you once would be afraid of spiders and then that fear transformed into realizing a very practical thing that they keep bugs out of your house. Yeah. Jules chiming back in saying that spiders have tons of babies. Maybe fear of spiders has something to do with this fear of parenthood. Yeah, that could be. Or just the fear of, yeah. I was going to say the fear of growing up, like being an adult. But parenthood goes with that. Absolutely. Kim wants to know what made me choose this topic. So it started with this book that I'm reading. I don't know if you can see it. It's called Strengthening the Soul of Your Leadership by Ruth Barton. I'm reading this for a class. And in typical J. Foss fashion, I am quoting someone who's quoting something. So we're getting this third hand. But Ruth quotes Parker Palmer, who says that the soul is like a wild animal, tough, resilient, resourceful, savvy. It knows how to survive in hard places, but it is also shy, just like a wild animal. It seeks safety in the dense underbrush. If we want to see a wild animal, we know that the last thing we should do is go crashing through the woods yelling for it to come out. So I chose this topic because I know that I need to get in touch with my own soul. I mean, I've been doing this for years with this radio show, right? But I think that talking about it and doing it are two different things. So what are the best ways to get in touch with your soul? What are the best ways to get in touch with your inner wild animal? That's what kicked off this whole conversation. And I think that talking about it and getting these ideas and doing all of that is great. But what at the end of the day, I just know that I need more time, not with my thoughts. So going back to Jules's original point, right? Like not with my thoughts, because my thoughts are never ending and they are trained to some degree to think certain things. Not even with my body, because getting in touch with my body, though, is good. It's really the essence of who I am. I mean, thoughts and body are both temporary. And with raising your inner voice, I think that the soul is something that is more, I don't even want to say infinite, but it's more everlasting. And it's something that I guess to some degree has been calling out that I know that I need to address and pay attention to more. Yeah, so that's kind of what kicked off this topic regarding what a fun topic too, right? I didn't expect to have so much fun talking about how your soul is a wild animal. I expected I don't know what I expected, but this has been a blast. So thank you all for chiming in. I think I have a special surprise in store for you, and I'll leave you on the cliffhanger saying I'm going to send you something as a little thank you for joining the conversation this evening. But I'm not going to tell you what just yet, because I like surprises. I think surprises are a good thing. And I appreciate each one of you joining the conversation this evening. Coming up, we do have some good shows coming up. So Kimmy just asked, is it a deer carving? Yes, it just might be. No, it's definitely not. That's hilarious. That is funny. It's better than a deer carving. I think. Who knows? You might view it differently. And that's okay. All is good. Try not to judge it, right? Don't judge yourself and don't judge your soul. That should be a new tagline somewhere. Don't judge your soul. That's a good tagline. Well, party people, we are coming to the end of our conversation. I hope that you had some fun. Hope that you had some insights. Hope that you had some good interactions like I did this evening. And it's been a blast being here with you on this Sunday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. It's a liminal space. You know that. It's a space where we can dig into a little fun and a little deeper conversation than at least what I'm used to for most of the week. And most of the weekend for that matter. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being present and joining in this conversation regarding your soul that was based off of a quote from this book by Ruth Barton titled Strengthening the Soul of Your Leadership. So please be kind and gentle with yourself and share that same grace with others. Cheers.
If
If you're enjoying this podcast, please help spread the word about raising your inner voice. Join the conversation live. Email jay.foss@me.com to suggest ideas to explore. Also share this podcast with your friends. Let those who need conversations like this have a chance to check it out.
Then let them know to get involved.